getting back to ensuring that knowledge in our union isn't proprietary. It's not coalesced by one person to eventually dish out and why decisions are made, what information we took in.
It feels to me that information's been siloed, and that's for the purpose of creating a power vacuum, a need and a desire to be in the good graces of union leadership, when the truth is the union needs to stay in the good graces of the memberships. Leaders need to be accountable, they need to be accounted for, and they need to be present. That's part of what we want to do with town halls. These things won't just happen as candidates, but if we are successful, they'll happen as the actual sitting president and executive vice president.
We want to find any mechanism to negotiate pay. So negotiate the bands a controller premium pay. We used to have that at one time for just being an air traffic controller in our longevity pay, and increasing that. That's the June 1.6 about longevity bonuses. So at a 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 year mark, let's have a payout and increasing a payout as that moves. Is eliminating the academy graduate pay and have them to go to their first developmental pay setting in a Saturday premium, crazy amounts of overtime, being a possible tiered system where when you hit a certain mark, like a 200 or 250 hours, then the rate increases to 2 times. You hit another mark, it increases to 2.5 times. The agency honestly is putting us in a facility and getting a bargain rate for us working ourselves honestly to death.
Yes. Right. Classification of airspace and the multipliers associated with that. One of the things you do to protect pay is you stop downgrades. If you're up against the cap, some of the things Nick said, premiums, differentials, they don't go toward the cap. So there's history of these things happening. So it's not fantastical thoughts. These are realities that can come to fruition. We do have an employer that recognizes that the economy has affected the retention and recruitment of air traffic controllers, and going about that and addressing it is not something that has to be combative or with t-shirts that say "fix my pay" region. I don't see regions when I think of NACA, because that's not how it works. Typically we have national agreements. Typically we have national MOUs. So to try to leave any region out or ostracize a region or a person would be a fruitless endeavor, and honestly a waste of the energy that we'll need to move the union forward.
We need to lean on our resources that we currently have and always invite this conversation of how do we get better and how do we...
I was listening to some of your town hall meetings and that you have on YouTube, and you guys visited 150 facilities. Jesus Christ. I don't think you guys get enough credit for the amount of effort you're putting in. And, I know in my 21-year career, I've never seen like an election get as contentious as this has gotten. When I got to meet Jamal came by himself to N90, and he was looking to interact with people. And there was a stigma associated with Jamal and a false narrative. And I began speaking with Jamal, and I was so impressed on Jamal's intellect, and it immediately dawned on me that, hey, this guy knows a lot about negotiating. I could ask Jamal, I could use this guy for something that I needed help with on the side. And I really wasn't expecting Jamal to be willing to do it, but he did. And, all I can say is Jamal and Nick did. They showed up for me, and both of them are extremely intelligent. And Jamal spoke about how he negotiates with the FAA, elaborated on negotiating theory. It just blew my mind away.
I've watched and been a part of the Union Synergy Committee, saw the efforts that were going in, the direction and the purpose. But what I've never seen is our president go out and speak about it and say that these are things that we need to be discussed of a women's leadership council brought forward. I think they are doing anything they can to attack Jamal and I directly, to cause fear and doubt into others' minds. It is a smoke and mirrors tactic when you're not a strong candidate and you're having to play from behind. That's what they're doing, and that's why we're here hosting these town halls and being as open and transparent as we are about things.
Elicit some emotion from me so they could point to biases that exist, and I'm just not gonna allow that, because the union means too much to me to be distracted. Employee movement is something that we have to do a much better job, starting with academy placement, our track 2 hires, our nest, our incept, Article 124, swaps. We have to put all of those pieces and elements together. When people transfer and we know they're going to require training, that there's training available so that we don't slow down the process. Inverse the inset process and start with our level 8 or 9 and below facilities. All of those things are actually ideas that we've already proffered up to those who sit in those seats, moved on. And when you're limited in your imagination and you think the only time things can change is when a CBA is open, you're given large swaths of time where you're not moving the ball forward. That's unacceptable.
We have to change this idea around employee movement. We are at a 10-year low. We change it to where you're given a direct target to that person in level 5 and say, when somebody will come fill in for you. They got hired, they passed the academy, now they get to your facility, and when they check out on local control, you'll be released to that level 6 facility within 6 months. Those are ideas and concepts that we have to begin engaging on. So that way there is a level of planning. That's where the idea of bringing back in the swaps. Let's go from that facility to the lower staff facility. Once they certify on their first 2 R sides, the other person's 6-month release to go to the higher staff facility.
Nick and I, and every single one on the National Executive Board, wants to open a CBA as soon as possible, and we most certainly want to ensure that we protect ourselves in the event that executive orders were to come up. People are intentionally being misled about the executive orders and how they exist. The fact of the matter is our union members deserve the absolute truth exists. Right now, about half of the country is getting a briefing, and the rest of the half of the country is being told there's nothing to see here, when in fact there's plenty to see there. You don't have to wait for the CBA to be open to address pay, and it'll kind of give you an indication of where people are when they're not doing that right now, and they want to hold this as some type of holy grail that only they want to see open, when in fact that hasn't been the case.
The more misinformation that's put out will only divide us further. Who gains when we divide? The agency. That's who gains when we're out there spreading misinformation internally to try to win seats. This is about finding a path forward, protecting our rights, standing in front of you, and having honest conversations. That epidemic is around our mental well-being, our mental health, and it's going to take leaders to challenge the norms of the past. About an optional hour every single pay period, if scheduled in advance, so our members could utilize the services of EAP.
And it was said, we're not doing that yet. Our message will come out coherently together. That's what I was told. I can't be doing both things at the same time. I can't undercut the president of the organization and then also ask for unity. I would love for Rich to make that the decision that we're doing, and then I will 100% support it. But on this platform, what we will say again, and what we say to all is, we do not want to see members moved involuntarily. That be anywhere, particularly in 90.
But what we need is a president that's accountable. And that's something that I know Jamal and I are both willing to bring to the table. Not somebody who sits back and says, this is everyone else's fault of why I wasn't able to do the very things and bring you the pay or engage in a contract. Everything is now, if you give me another 3 years, that's when I'll get it done. And to me, that's absolutely unacceptable.
Why I really, distrust Rich Santa, and it really has to go with, my 30 coworkers who have been on this seesaw. Am I going to Philly? Am I not going to Philly? Am I selling my house? Am I not selling my house? Oh, I thought I was going. I sold my house. They've been living in limbo. And when he came here in June of 2022, I flat out asked him about Section 804 and its applicability to this move. And what he said to me was the FAA can get a waiver for Section 804. He never told me that Section 804 did not apply. What he told me was Section 804, they can get a waiver. And then I said, had they done that before? And the response to me was, yes, they have. I then filed a FOIA request, and I've shared that response with Nick and Jamal, and that turned out to be a big, fat lie, that the FAA has never filed for a waiver. And that's a man that's in the position of leader of this union. And he flat out lied straight to my face about Section 804. I don't trust them. So when I hear the videos that come out from a Region X guy who says this guy's manipulative, he's a liar, that resonates with me. And that's not from Mick and Jamal saying to me, hey, Rich is a liar, Rich is manipulative. I'm an N90 guy, and it's not popular not to support Rich. I don't support anybody that's going to lie to me about something that has put 30 of my coworkers in this predicament where they don't know where they're going to be in a couple months once again. That he is a liar and he does manipulate people. Why there is, so much animosity towards NACA right now. And that's why I agree that there needs to be a change in leadership.
Is one, thank you for being so bold to say your piece. We should be able to say our piece to this union because there are a lot of members out there that are scared. They're scared, like you said, to dissent or disagree. It's not popular to not support it. That should tell us the state of our union and the state of the leadership. And it's going to take people saying, am I good with the status quo? Am I good with it being the way it is now? And are the people that have been in those positions for 5.5 years going to suddenly take it a new direction now? Look at the records, as Jamal said. Ask us the questions before you vote. We want to make sure you are a well-informed membership. And with that being said, thank you all for the time. Thank you for being a part of this union, being willing to engage in it. We can't wait to see each of you cast your vote and make your voice heard in this election.